Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tribe. I was just jamming to a song, Happy by Pharrell, one of my favorites, which I've told you guys many times over that I love dance parties. And that's one of the songs that's on my absolute fave list of all. Let me just turn off all of my notifications now just to remind me of today. I'm so excited. I always get really excited when I get to talk to this lady because she is super amazing. So I have to just tell you a little bit about Hanna, okay? How I met Hanna was on social media, which I love. Social media for me is the jam because I have met so many amazing people. But Hanna in particular has stood out to me on so many different levels. We first started talking about self-love, and when we talked about it, actually, it was around her upcoming Women's Summit, She Rises Women's Empowerment Summit, which was back in May of this year. And if you were there, you were, oh my gosh, part of such an amazing lineup of women who shared so many amazing tips. And that was so much fun. And I know that she's got some more in the pipeline coming up for you. But I wanted to talk to you about how our friendship has blossomed since getting to know Hanna more. We started building on our connection. And the more I got to know her, the more I was drawn into our friendship. Like, you meet somebody and you just immediately feel this kindred spirit too. And that's exactly how I feel about this woman. She's brave. She's kind. I bet you I could just go ahead and make this very bold statement that if she saw someone in need that really desperately needed, whether it was a shirt off her back or the last dollar in her wallet, I believe to the core that she would give it to them. That's just who she is. She's a mom. She's got a lot of children, both on her side and hubby's side. I'll let her tell you a little bit more about herself too, but these are just some of the things I want to share with you that I love about her. She's a grandmom. She's got some amazing kids, some amazing grandkids. She's a wife. It looks like she has a really amazing relationship with an amazing man. I love using the word amazing. Can you tell? And she's a businesswoman who, to me, it seems just hit the ground running. When she started, she's been going full speed ahead ever since she's made her first decision to go into business for herself. And she certainly has inspired so many women to step into their power, including myself. Now, I could go on and on and on, but I want to say some of this amazingness for you, which is Hanna. So please let me welcome you to my beautiful friend, Hanna Olivas. Hello, hello.
Good morning. Well, afternoon here. That was a beautiful welcome. Thank you. I don't even know what to say. I'm just humbled to be here and be able to talk to you and share what we're doing. I'm kind of speechless, which hardly ever happens.
Well, like I said, it's true. Everything I've said about you is true. I think that I'm not the only one that can speak highly of you. I feel that just anyone whose life that you've touched them in such a positive way. Like, you've just inspired people to do better, to be better, to live better. And one of your mantras, which I really resonate with, and I don't know if I want to say it because I want to get into that with you if you're willing to share it with you as your journey. So I'm going to let you tell us that. But before we get started, as I told you earlier before we came on here, that I'd like to just start with a few questions just to kind of break the ice for the audience, because I know you, but not everyone in the group knows you. So if I have just 7 questions. I hope that you're okay with that.
Sure.
And they're fun. They're just fun getting to know you. Questions. Nothing crazy.
Okay.
So first question is, describe yourself using 3 words.
Unstoppable, kind, and loving.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I could add to your list, but of course, I only asked for three. What's your favorite movie ever?
Oh, this is easy. And it's part of my live it list. I love the movie Eat, Pray, Love.
Ah,
I'm a super huge fan of Julia Roberts, and I am determined to get to Bali.
oh my
So
gosh.
I
See,
can watch that movie 100 times.
I know. I love that movie, and I love the fact that she stepped into this unknown and decided, I'm going to learn a different language. I'm going to go live in different places
Yes.
and just put myself out there. I love that. Okay, so that's good. What would you say has been your greatest accomplishment in your life?
My kids.
Yeah, I
My
figured
kids.
you were going to answer.
Without a doubt, my kids. And just seeing where we are as a family. You know, my kids, I was a single mom, and a lot of people don't know that. And that's part of my book. But, you know, being a single mom is really hard. And so being able to see all my kids graduate, being able to see them grow into these amazing human beings, and, you know, being a grandma, you know, my daughter having my two grandsons, it's amazing to be able to watch their growth, and knowing that I birthed them. And, you know, so I would have to definitely say my kids for 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got some, well, I mean, the one daughter that I know, she's pretty amazing. So,
Yeah, she is.
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. What would you say has been your greatest lesson learned?
I would say that it would be, we don't have all the time in the world, and that we need to be in the present moment when it's happening, not to take time for granted or people.
That's powerful. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Question 5. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Ooh, that I come from an eternal pool of well-being. It's just something that stuck with me for years and years and years. And I've taken that in different definitions of what it could mean, but I would say that, and always believing, you know, always seeing my worth was another.
Yeah, I think that's important. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more and when we talk about self-love. Okay, so last 2 questions. Name a book you read that positively shaped you.
Oh, okay. This one's easy. And I've read it like 30 times. And every time I read it, I learn something new. The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. It's just something, I can't even explain it to you, but like it ignites my soul. And I've read it so many times, and every time I read it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I take this out of that. And I became this 5 a.m. girl for that reason. Because when I would see other business women and men say, you know, you got to start your day early, I'm like, yeah, right. You know, but there really is truth to that. There really is this system, this balance, and this time management. And just the book is incredible. It's probably one of the best books, if not the best book I've read.
Wow. Well, I'm going to check that one out. I've heard you're probably the 10th person I've heard say that. So definitely going to check them out. Check out Robin Sharma's book. So, and last question. And this one, I also have something I want to add to it, but I'm going to ask you first. So if you had a spirit animal, what would it be?
Sea turtle.
Ooh, a sea turtle. Okay. Okay. Because I've chosen one for you. And I said, I wanted to wait to hear what you had to say. So thanks so much for being gracious to take this cute little, fun little, just rapid fire question pause with me, just so, you know, the audience could get to know you a little bit. So I'm going to tell you what I chose for you. And of course, this is just because this is what I see when I look at you, when I engage with you. I chose the lioness. And okay, so the lioness symbolizes, it says that she epitomizes the goddess and divine feminine energy. She embodies creativity, imagination, originality, vision, inspiration, and resourcefulness. And I believe that about you. But then I went a little bit further and I found that it says a lioness woman is the one that exists in all her glory, being a courageous and empowering woman, ready to rock the world. She is fearless, bold, and at the same time aware of her responsibilities and faithful to them. Wow. And then it says qualities of an actual lioness. Lionesses are independent, fierce, loyal, brave, strong, graceful, and agile. They are the primary hunters of their pride and are highly protective over their young. To me, that is, I see you as the lioness just because I see how fiercely loyal and protective you are of your family. Your children mean the world to you. I see that. I see how you show up for your community and how you actually embody all of these things because you empower women to go out and be their best selves just through your the books that you have been writing, through the communities that you have started, the businesses that you've started. And we're going to talk about that. And that's why I chose that, because I see that you are this lioness that's out there in the world. And yeah, so powerful woman.
Wow. Well, thank you. I'll definitely be researching that more. I've always been attracted to sea turtles because I think that they are wise. They're slow, steady, calm. So it's kind of the opposite for sure. But yeah. I appreciate that. I definitely identify with what you're saying. And I do feel those things. I am very protective. I love my community. I love helping people. I absolutely cherish my family, my friends, and those who are in my journey. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. That's when I was researching, I was thinking, well, I know I'm going to ask Hanna this question, but for me, what would I come up with if I was asked to tell you what the spirit animal I would choose for you? And that would be, as I said, I thought, yeah, it's none other than that, because again, all of those, the traits about being a woman who is courageous and empowering. Again, you empower your community. You empower through your written word, through the work that you do, through your videos, through the life that you're living. And so now I want to really segue into that, because the title of this is really to get your perspective on self-love and like what that means to you, because there's this whole backstory a lot of people don't know about. I've never really shared that in the community because I felt this isn't my story to tell, but I feel like you have such a powerful story that is not so much that of like what it is, but just how you take your life and live from a place of I'm not letting this be the box that I'm being put in, but rather I'm going to step outside of that into this space, and it's mine. I'm designing this space the way I want to live it, and I'm going to live it this way. And so I wanted to talk about that. If you are open to maybe diving a little bit into your story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just because I know there's a lot of women in this community right now who I feel like are dealing with, not necessarily similar to what you're dealing with, but they have emotional blocks that are keeping them from living their life in a way that, they feel empowered. And so I know, just because of the things that you are dealing with on a daily basis, something you have that might be able to empower them. And so would you be able to tell us about your story? And
sure. So, most people know just the last 4 years of my journey. But I was born in Las Vegas. I was raised by my grandparents, and my parents just weren't ready to be parents at the time. Actually, and you know, that in itself, I think, kind of paved the way for some of the strength that I had to learn at a young age. I had severe childhood trauma issues happen, and you know, I always just kind of was this guarded girl. I would do anything to protect myself from being hurt from anyone, and it kind of started at a very young age. And then I was a makeup artist by trade. I traveled all over. I did that for over 20 plus years. During that journey, I became a mom of 4 of my own children. And I had a failed marriage, you know, and that's a story in itself. And I was also a very young mother, and I had to learn things on my own, so to speak. I didn't have a community of people behind me saying, hey, you can do this, you can do that. I really had to be that self-supporter, that go-getter on my own. And so I promised myself that if I were to ever have kids, I would always teach them, you know, hey, I'm here for you. I love you. I support you. And I promised that I would never be the mother to my kids of the mother that I didn't have. So, you know, and of course, along the way, I made mistakes, lots of them, and, you know, learned. And honestly, I feel like I didn't grow up until I was in my 30s. I just had this epiphany one day, and I was like, okay, yeah, this isn't working anymore. So we're gonna, it's time to grow up, and it's time to do things differently. And I had to really dig deep and figure out who I was and what I wanted. I didn't want to be a people pleaser anymore. I was completely drained from always trying to make everyone else happy except for myself. And it started there. And I started reading books that I had never heard of. A coworker of mine said, hey, why don't you check this book out? It was a book by Wayne Dyer. And I was just amazed at what was in this book. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been living my life this way when really I've made it harder on myself, and, you know, now's the time I can change. So in the midst of all that, I got married again to my husband, and I've known him since I was 13 years old. So I've known him more than half my life. And we met, you know, at a very young age. He was my first love. We went our separate ways, of course, when I started traveling, and, you know, life happens. So we became this blended family, and he has 4 girls. And then I adopted his nephew into my life, literally adopted him. There was issues with his mom, and I saw this boy who needed a mom. And so I knew how it felt not to have a mom or a dad. So I adopted this young man who is now 22 years old, and just, he's amazing. And so, you know, our life is going. I'm living this happy life, and things are looking good. My husband and I are traveling, kids and I are traveling. And then 2017 was the year that everything just kind of, I don't want to say crashing down, but that's what it did. It just came crashing down, and we weren't expecting it. You know, I was pregnant. I was 8.5 months pregnant, and we lost him. And right after is when the journey really got real, and I wasn't feeling good. I knew something was wrong, and doctors kept saying, oh, you're just depressed, you know, this is a major loss. You need to go to counseling. You need this. And I got told every scenario. And probably some of it was true. I probably was feeling depressed. Of course, that's a huge loss, but there was just something tugging at me, telling me like, no, there's something wrong. There's something's off. So I went to a couple of different doctors, and finally one that would actually really listen to what my symptoms were. And he said, let's do some blood work. Let's start there. And it honestly took them 9 months to figure out that I was anemic. That was one problem. And the other problem was I was smoldering, what they call smoldering multiple myeloma. So I had a blood cancer that had been in my system and just kind of growing, but not fully at its wrath. So they call that smoldering multiple myeloma. But I was feeling the side effects of it, the pain, the fatigue, the shortness of breath. I was having problems with my kidneys, all kinds of stuff. And so when that diagnosis came in, and that diagnosis came with a prognosis of people who are diagnosed with that, typically it's a 5-year prognosis. There's no cure. It is considered a terminal illness. And that's when I just was like, okay, so we lost a child. Now I'm being diagnosed with I had never heard of this cancer, doctors immediately, we were sent to a specialty facility outside of Las Vegas. And, that's when the journey really began, because we were so unfamiliar with the word cancer in the sense of me having it. I didn't meet the criteria of that type of cancer. I'm a woman. I'm under 50. Typically, it's African-American men over the age of 60. So by paper, I did not match what they said I had. And so, this continued, and we had to find really good doctors. We did a lot of traveling. Insurance kind of was an issue at one point. I looked for support groups for women who might have what I have. I was desperate just to find answers and some clarity as to what was going on. And finally, just one day I said, I can't do this. This is like, I had to get a grasp on what was happening and shift my mindset from one extreme to the other, because I'm having all these people saying, you're not going to live past 5 years. And this is 4 years ago. Get your affairs in order, talk to your kids, talk to your husband. And it put a genuine fear that I had never felt before. And the more I reached out looking for support groups and couldn't find any, because the type of cancer I have is not as prominent as leukemia or lymphoma, I had a hard time. And so in the midst of all of this going on with me, I said, I'm going to start a nonprofit and start my own support groups, because I need help, and I can't imagine that I'm the only one that does. And as I started to share my story and open this nonprofit, more and more women came forward. Even men came forward and said, hey, I was diagnosed with this same disease as you. And I was fortunate enough to find a group on Facebook, of all places, where it was a group of us 50 and under who have the same disease. And so I had to learn how to advocate for myself. I had to learn how to ask the right questions to the doctors. And I had to learn what it meant to live day to day with the symptoms that I was having, but also the treatment that I have to have, because it's life-changing. I can't eat the same things that I want to eat. I have restrictions on certain things that I can do, activities. The doctors are always telling me, you can't do this, you can't do that. And finally, I just got tired and said, you can tell me what I can't do all the time, but I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm just going to live my life how I see is best fit for me and for my husband, my kids, my family. And once I made that decision, and I always tell people this, if you've been diagnosed with a chronic illness or a terminal illness, they are doctors, and they can tell you their prognosis, their opinion, their expertise. But we still have the choice on how we receive it and what we do with that information we receive. And I did go through a time in my life where I was clinically depressed, and fear and panic and anxiety set in. And to be honest, I was all over the place. I didn't know what to do. And then one day, I was praying, and I just had to figure out that I needed to be strong. I needed to rise up. I kept hearing this, she rises, she leads, she lives. She rises, she leads, she lives. Everything that I read was about rising up. Everything that I read was about living, not existing. Everything that I saw, it was almost like the universe was aligning me with this message. Everything that I saw, everything, even down to my favorite flower is the sunflower. And I finally one day looked up the meaning of the sunflower, and they're strong. They're strong, amazing flowers that have to go through the dirt to get to face the sun. And I said, okay, so clearly someone's trying to tell me something, and what do I do with this journey? And so I immediately had to, kind of rewire my whole method of thinking. And it's not easy. You and I have had conversations. I have fears still. I am fearless in the sense, but I am human, and we all face fears as humans. And so I try to really focus on positive things. I try to share and be real with whoever is talking to me, and ask, like you and I today, I don't want to make people believe that this is a glamorous journey, because it's not. But it is a beautiful journey. I've been able to meet amazing men and women along the way. I have a tribe of people who support me, love me, and encourage me through and through and through. Even on my worst of days, I know I can pick up the phone and send a text, a call, or whatever that looks like. And so I had to start seeing like the beauty of this journey and not the negativity side of it. And the more that I saw that, and the worse my numbers would go on paper and what the doctors are telling me, I wasn't feeling what the doctors were telling me. I was still feeling like this person who could go out and conquer the world. And so that's just how I've chosen to live my life, is if I'm not feeling what they're telling me to feel. I'm feeling what I want to feel, how I want to feel it. I'm receiving that goodness, that abundance, that gratitude, and that mindset shift. And I had to love myself too. I had to really open up and be honest with myself and say, okay, Hanna, do you really love yourself enough to do whatever it takes to help yourself get as healthy as possible to fight this journey? And that's a deep question to ask yourself. Am I worthy enough? Do I see my self-worth? Am I worth putting up this fight, because it is the fight of my life? And am I worth it? And once I started asking those questions and being truthful in those answers, I could see there were changes that needed to be made. And, I'm still in treatment now. Things have gotten a lot harder, and, I've had to slow my pace down here and there. You and I talked yesterday or day before, and I explained to you, I had a bone marrow procedure, and I had to travel outside of Las Vegas to get it, because we don't have that here. And I was terrified. I knew that it was going to hurt. I didn't know everything to expect, but I knew that I had to do this in order to get the answers that we need. But it left me in this mindset of like fear. And I had to really do, again, some self-talk and say, okay, things are going to be okay. You're strong, you're courageous, you're this, you're that. And, I did it. It took 4 people to do the procedure of 2 people. There were a little bit of complications, but now I'm here today, sitting here talking with you. I'm up walking around now. And so I look at that as a huge blessing, huge accomplishment. And that's just kind of how I've had to live my life is, I have to take the beauty out of all of it. And the beauty of that particular day, Friday, it was last Friday, as soon as we left, my husband's like, what can we do, to get you to smile? And I said, take me to the beach. So we went to the beach, and I hobbled out of the car and hobbled to the beach and just listened to the waves, watched the sun go down, stood there with my son, my oldest son. And, I prayed, meditated, and let the tears out that I was holding in. I cleansed, and that's part of the journey that I've been on, is I've had to learn to let go a lot, and not to control every single thing. We as humans try to always control every single outcome, and that is not going to happen. So I think I've said this a lot over the years, I can't control the diagnosis, but I can control how I live. And so the more that I've gone through this, I've met some incredible, phenomenal people that have taught me what they know, and I've just embedded it into my mind and into my lifestyle. And I also realized the more you focus on others, serving others, loving others, the less you're focused on yourself and your own, stuff. Like it's almost like it's a healing thing. So when I'm doing these talks like with you or with other women, or I'm writing books, my hope is always the same. And that I hope they're inspired. I hope they get something out of this, and that they know that no matter what's happening, it's going to be okay. It might not be the exact way we want it to be, but it's going to be better. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be, and just to trust the journey, trust that process. And, it took me a long time to get there. I mean, I'm going to be 47 this year. And, this is, it's by no means easy, but it's worth it. And then, we came up with She Rises after we opened the nonprofit, and it just kind of flourished from there. So
yeah, I think that's beautiful. So I have a question. So I know that you say that you found ways for you to live your life. And I know, like as I was saying, you came up with a mantra, which I absolutely love. And this is based on just your experience. And so I'd love you to share that. But I also would love you to share, when it comes to self-love, like where do you draw your strength from in order to be able to do those things for yourself? Because again, you're human and you're going through something that most of us in our lifetime will never have to face.
Yeah. So for me, like I had mentioned earlier, I went through this clinical depression, and doctors are very smart. They do observe us when we don't realize they're observing us. And so my one doctor said, you need help. You're in denial of what's happening, and you need to get a grip. He was very straightforward. All bets were off. He talked to me just as stern as he possibly could. And I think it was because he was tired of trying to reach me, and I just wasn't hearing it. And so I had to, again, ask myself this question: what am I worth? Am I worth this trouble? Like, am I valued? Do I love myself? Do I want to be better? Do I want to do the things that I need to do, what they're asking me to do? And he said, I'm referring you to a psychologist and a therapist. And at first I was like, I'm not going to do that. I straight out said, I'm not going to do that. And he said, you are, because I'm telling you that you need to. And it was this battle where I had to really face, like, okay, I can't do this on my own. I do need help. And sometimes those closest to me were going through exactly what I was going through. So it was like too close. So I had to reach outside and ask for help, which is something that I wasn't used to doing. And so I would say to anyone who's going through something like this, or just period, reach out to your community. It doesn't have to be your family. Sometimes family is too close. I found talking to a therapist helped a lot. I made new friends and talked to my friends, and without judgment, I was allowed to be honest right where I'm at in life. And I think that in itself, me putting that guard down and asking for that help, was a way of me showing myself that I love myself enough to understand that I needed that help.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's really hard to ask for help, especially because I know just from knowing the little bit about you, knowing you for this short amount of time that I've known you, you do carry a lot of the weight on your shoulders. You carry a lot of burden on your shoulders. And I think it's just because, and I don't even think you look at it as a burden. I think you look at, this is my life. These are the choices I've made. These are the things that are going on in my life, and I choose to do them. But I think sometimes, as I was saying, you're the lioness, right? So you're protecting everyone. You're nurturing everyone. You're making sure everyone else is okay. But it's like there's still that piece that, again, your doctor was able to point out to you, like, hey, Hanna, I know that you got this other part of your life that you're taking care of, and it's important to you. But there's a person right here sitting in front of me that I know needs you, and that's yourself. And so, speaking of that, which was for self-love, so you talked a little bit about how you meditation, books, all of that, reaching out to community. Are there other things that you do that have really helped you through your own self-love journey? Have they start somewhere as a certain formula and now it's this set in stone, or does it change? Like, how do you
so I had to do a lot of forgiveness for myself. I lived with a lot of guilt for some of the things that happened to me, instead of understanding that it wasn't my fault. And I punished myself a lot. I even felt guilty for being sick. Like, if I wasn't sick, my kids wouldn't be so sad. I wouldn't see these faces looking at me in just sheer fear and hurt. And so I had to let go of those things. And it's not easy. It's not like I said, boom, let go. I cried a lot, and I'm a huge crier. And before I wouldn't even break a tear. And now it's like I watch a little sappy movie and I'm just, a bag full of tears. But I had to forgive people who didn't deserve it, who hurt me so deeply, but would never admit it or apologize. And I had to look past the things that they did and forgive them and love them anyway from a distance and wish them good. I had to learn to let go of some of the traumatic things that happened to me as a child and work through those things. It was a complete self-evaluation from when the memories that I can remember up until current. And I have this thing called the chuck it bucket. And if it's something that I can't fix or something that I can't control, it goes in the chuck it bucket. So my chuck it bucket's pretty big. I try not to I don't try to hang on to bitterness for anybody, even in the smallest way. I try to, even those people who really test you, from women in our community to doctors that I see to just experiences in life, I've just had to learn to say, okay, I could be really upset about this, or I can be this unstoppable woman and keep on going and throw it in the chuck it bucket. So I just kept trying to do things to help me let go of those feelings of scaredness, of hurt, fear, pain. And also journaling has been like my go-to. Prayer, meditation, affirmations, reading and writing anything and everything positive, just completely feeding, they tell us to eat as healthy as positive. You have to feed your mind that too. It doesn't just go for the food side, it goes for your mental and emotional status, so if you're not feeding your mind and your spirit, your soul, your emotions in a healthy way, it's going to come back and it's going to hurt you. And if you're not healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally, how am I going to beat this illness that I have? How am I going to be here longer if I can't do that? So I had to find ways to do those things. Mm-hmm. And so lots of prayer, lots of tears, lots of journaling, asking for help, talking to people, and just letting those walls down. And being human, just saying, hey, I am human. I'm feeling this and I don't know what to do. I always make the joke, like my husband probably wants to hit the eject button sometimes because like sometimes, you know, when it's close to treatment days or when we have to travel to the hospital and we know that it's going to be something intense, I'm like this bag of nerves. And I'm sure sometimes he's like, oh my goodness. And I'm trying to talk to myself and tell myself it's going to be okay. It's just another bump in the road, or it's something leading to an answer that we need to have. You know, so it's constant self-talk. It's constant prayer. It's constantly focusing on the positive side versus the negative side. But I do slip. I do. And you and I had a conversation about that. And, you know, it's not, I don't want to give people the idea that, oh, if I do all this, I'm going to be this walking, talking, positive bomb, because reality is we all need help in some way, shape, or form, and life hits us differently, and it's what we do with it, how we take those punches. Do we get knocked out, knocked down? Do we get up? Do we keep fighting, or do we just lay down and let it be? And I'm just one of those that, okay, I got knocked down, but I'm not knocked out. I'm going to get up and I'm going to keep going.
Yeah, and I love that. And I love, and it's just knowing that we're human. And I love the fact that you just own it and said, it's not about it being all perfect, because it's not all sunshine and roses all the time. Although we would love that in a perfect world, things would be exactly how we want to. We'd have this perfect life. But to me, the imperfections sometimes show the most beauty. And so I love the fact that you're able to like draw your strength on the things that you have, that you do. But you also mentioned about having those people in your life that uplift and support and encourage you. I always talk about tribe. I think that it's so important to surround yourself with people, whether it's a huge tribe of people, you've got different communities that you have, that you're a part of, that support you. But you also have probably your inner circle. You've got an amazing daughter. She's part of our group, Adriana. She's amazing. I think that just someone like that in your corner to help you through a lot of the things that you're doing with your life. Like, I just see this huge smile coming on your face as I say her name, because I can see that it's just that is a huge joy for you. One of the things I did want to ask you is, if someone was to ask you, like, what would be, if they're going through something, like what would be the one true thing that you would say, okay, if I was to choose out of everything that I have in my self-love bucket, and I love your chuck it bucket, by the way, I think that's fabulous. I do. I think it's fabulous because you just get rid of the stuff that doesn't matter, and you don't have control over it, right? Or you might even have I'll check back later if it even matters. But if someone was to say, okay, you've got all of these amazing things that you do. You've got your tribe, you've got your journaling, you've got your prayer, meditation, affirmations, reading and writing. If they were to pick something for you, especially with your journey, if someone was to say to you, okay, Hanna, out of everything that you do that helps you, what is the one thing that you couldn't live without in your self-care bucket?
I would have to say my ability to be able to pray wherever I'm at. My faith. My faith has kept me going. And secondly, I would say my support system, my kids, my husband, those closest to me. That it's so important to be able to have the combo of both. If people are able to do all of that, if they are able to pray, to have that support system, to be able to journal, and to be able to identify some of the struggles that they're going through, and how can they overcome some of those struggles. Sometimes we don't know how to get out of our own way, and it takes an outside perspective, someone like you, who you help people when we get in our own way and we say, hey, Leslie, this is going on. Everybody needs somebody like that. everybody needs more than one person like that. But if I had to choose the ultimate, I would have to say my faith, prayer, and my support system. Absolutely.
I love that. And I think I talked about how having something to believe in other than yourself, like you have to be in awe of just the world that we live in, that there's all of this stuff and it came from somewhere. And so I have my faith too. And I believe, and it's because there's absolutely, to me, my own faith to believe that all of these things that came from us as humans came from somewhere, that desire, that drive, the creativity, being able to create all of these new things, to be able to connect with each other, have these connections. And so I love that. So you still haven't said your lovely tagline, and I don't want to say it, but I do. But you have this amazing, it's not a tagline, and so I take that back. It's not a tagline, but it's an absolutely amazing mantra that you have, and you created it. I've never heard anyone else say it. And so I want you to just say it once for me, please.
I'm trying to think.
It's the one about living, because this is really important for you. You could either not be living, or you could be.
I'm not living to die. I'm dying to live.
And I love that. So can you tell us how this came about? Like how you came up with that? Because I love it. Absolutely love it.
So one of the most recent visits I had in the last 9 months, we were told some kind of hard news. And, it's like what I said in the beginning when we were first talking. I can receive what they're telling me and take it and go home and get in my bed and stay there. Or I can say, not yet. I'm still living, and behave and live as the person who has this long, lengthy life ahead of her, who has this amazing support system, who has these beautiful kids and grandkids, and this phenomenal husband who just has honestly been my biggest support, or I can focus on dying. It's a choice. And I'm not going to focus on dying, because the more we say it to ourselves, the more you believe, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. What does your body do? Mm-hmm. Your body acts like it's sick. If you're happy, what does your body do? You behave happy. It's like where the mind goes, the body follows. And so now when I go into the doctors, that is not a conversation he and I have anymore. I don't need to know what his opinion is of how long I'm here. He's already told it to me. And I don't accept what they've told me. And I'm not saying like that in the sense of denying it. I'm saying I just don't accept it. I'm not willing to accept that yet. Whether that happens or not, obviously that's not in my control. But while I'm here, I do have control of how I live, the things that I do, like my Live It list, traveling the world, speaking to women like you, sharing my story, writing these books, having this TV show, doing these podcasts. All of that comes from a place of wanting to live and share that inspiration and empowerment on an impact that I don't believe has been made yet here. When I first was told what was going on with my health, I could have been the opposite and done nothing, but I'm not that girl. I'm not that woman. I never have been, so I do say I'm dying to live, not living to die, because obviously we all are born, we all die at some point in time, but how are you going to live the life while you're here alive with the people that you love? How do you celebrate? How does that work? What does that look like?
Yeah. And I love that. And that's why I feel like you're the lioness, right? And so with that being said, I mean, to the ladies in this community, like Hanna has a lot going on. Like she mentioned books. She's authored many books. She's working on a book now, which is going to be coming out. Well, actually, she's got a book that just came out, 2 books actually. And she's got another one she's working on that's going to be coming out in September. She mentioned her TV show. She has a community called She Rises Community. I encourage you to check it out and join the group. Amazing people within that community, supportive, like you said. I believe, like you say, it's not about having one person in your corner, it's having a community, because I believe we're better together. We are meant to be connected. I feel that if this, as a community of women, especially now, I feel like we're in an age of empowerment for women. We support each other, and I truly want us to come from that place and not revert back to old days where there was the scarcity, the fear around, if I support her, then that means I'm lessening myself. And I know that within your communities that you've been a part of, that you've started, that you are always pushing like connection and encouragement and empowerment and making sure that we look after each other, look out for each other. So tell the ladies, because I know you have so much coming up. So I know that you have, as I said, you talked real briefly about the TV station. I know there's some entrepreneurs in the group, so I would love for you to just like take the floor, tell us what you've got coming up. Maybe some of the ladies in the group are looking exactly for what you have and are, the floor is yours.
Well, we opened up She Rises Studios last year, mid-pandemic, myself and my oldest daughter. And the whole point of opening it was just to have a group of women supporting and encouraging one another. A lot of women we were seeing were going through anxiety of this pandemic. Everybody was the whole world shut down, and single moms were trying to figure out, how do I support my kids? And we just saw this huge need in the women community, because I always get asked, well, why is it only for women? And I'm like, because it just is. I don't even have a real direct answer other than that's just the way it is right now. And, I always say, like, my son's like, oh my gosh, Mom, you're such a feminist. Even my husband and I, we bump heads sometimes, because, like, yes, the man is the provider, if they're married, whatever. But all in all, women wear this huge, heavy burden all the time. Even when our kids are grown, we're still worried about them. What are they doing? Are they safe? Are they driving the speed limit? I can't tell you the crazy things that go through my head when my kids leave my house, because they're grown. And so now they can tell me, Mom, I don't have to listen to you. So we had just put out these feelers, just started this little thing, and women would respond and say, oh my gosh, I feel like that. Oh my gosh, I wish we had this. Oh my gosh, I wish we had that. And so Adriana and I just started talking, and we're like, you know what? We're gonna do a podcast. I don't know how. We had no clue. Trust me when I tell you, we were Google birds. We were all over Google. How do you do a podcast? How do you this? How do you that? I reached out to some of my female friend women entrepreneurs, even asking them. And to be honest, and this is where collaboration and competition meet, a lot of them didn't want to help. They didn't want to help. And so I was like, there's another message that we're going to share. You don't have to compete with women. You're not supposed to compare yourself to other women. You're supposed to collaborate with them, unite with them. Every woman has a different gift, talent. And if you put it all together, what do you get? Awesomeness. Yep. So why would you want to compete with other women? And so the more we started this group, and then it just kind of went into, we met our publisher, who's amazing. I can't even say enough about her. And she was like, we can get you on a podcast. You can have your own TV show. You can do this. You can do that. What do you say? And at first I was like, no, because that required me to step out of my comfort zone and really say, okay, are we really going to do this? Or are we just going to let the boat pass by and miss the opportunity? And, Adriana and I, we are similar in terms of mother-daughter, but we're also very opposite. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, how are we going to do it? You know, how does this look? And little by little, I was introduced to a strategist who is another amazing woman who I call a close friend now. She's actually in the book that you're coming out in. And I started to learn as much as I could. I reached out to the right people, the people that wanted to help me, the people that wanted to see me succeed, and not the people that were trying to throw the banana peel in the road. And so we came out with the podcast, and the She Rises name came from, I swear to you, Leslie, over and over, all I have been hearing all these years is since May of 2017 is she rises, she leads, she lives. So I'm like, She Rises. We'll name it She Rises. And Adriana's like, that's good, you know. So we did this podcast, and then I was invited to be a co-author in some books. And I thought, oh my gosh, like I write in my journals, but like when I read my journal, it looks like a doctor wrote it. You know, it's for me and me alone. And so I'm like, how do I write professionally? You know, so it was another thing I had to do to step outside of that comfort zone. And I didn't have any professional training. We had good guidance. We had good coaches to kind of give us that, you know, look, this is how it should be. But once I sat down and and I'm super old fashioned, and anybody that knows me knows this. I'm notebook girl, journal girl. I write it first and then it goes in my computer, or I talk into, you know, my phone or whatever. I'm not this digital tech savvy person. I'm so old school. So when I put that pen to the paper and just started writing, and I saw how it was such a flow, like there was no stress, I was like, oh my God, I love this. And so I turned in my chapter and they're like, this is great. Like, you don't need to change anything, you know? And so it just kind of went from there. And so we do these books. And then from sharing my story, I did some national stories with People Magazine, with the Tamron Hall show. I did international stories. And someone from the OWN network reached out to me and said, hey, how about this? And so I was presented this opportunity to be, to have my show and all these other things. And at that point, I wasn't ready. I declined at first. And my husband's like, are you crazy? You know, and I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready yet. I'll know when I'm ready. And he's like, but look who's asking you. Look at the things that you will do. You'll be able to help inspire others. And I said, but I'm not ready yet. When I'm ready and I know that I can fully support other women, then we'll do that. So we continued with She Rises, growing it. The podcast grew, and we have an audience of over 200 million listeners, which is insane when I think about it. Mm-hmm. So we decided to get into the publishing side and help other women get their stories out. So we do anthologies with other amazing women who have stories, who have compelling journeys, and who just want to share and help uplift other women. So we have the publishing side, and we do have 2 books coming out. We have Becoming an Unstoppable Woman, comes out September 21st, and we are still looking for, I believe, 5 or 6 more incredible women who are willing to share their gifts and talents. And then I have another book coming out solo called The Brave and Beautiful Project, and that launches the week after. We have our TV show that launches in September as well. And then we have She Rises magazine, and we have a She Rises retreat. We have just so many things. But all in all, it's a community of women who have come together to make that global impact and empower other women. And it's not just, you know, I want to make this clear. We're not looking for just women business owners. We're here to meet women right where they are in their journey. Mm-hmm. So I always say ordinary women who do extraordinary things, because that's what we are. We're these ordinary women who are doing extraordinary things. And, for the anthology, we were very selective on who we picked for our book, because we wanted to make sure that we had the right women to represent that huge title, becoming an unstoppable woman. We needed the right women to be able to make that huge global movement happen. And it was a process of elimination, in the sense of, not because they're not good enough, but a lot of them just weren't ready. And we needed those women who were ready to give their heart, soul, and voice, and not hold on to their gifts like this, you know. And so I'm really excited about this book coming out, and it does launch on purpose in September for Women's Empowerment Month. We have a women's summit based around that. We have a book tour that we're doing. We have a She Rises tour that we're doing. So we're going to be traveling the country. We have a major television show in the works for a major network. So it's just been, and all in all, it's not just me by myself who got this. It's the tribe of women, our She Tribe. We all came together. You know, we all let our guard down. We became vulnerable with one another. We shared our gifts. We shared our talents. We encouraged each other. And that's why we named it She Rises Community. That's why we named it She Rises Podcast. That's what it is. And we always say, we rise, we lead, we live. We rise together, we lead together, we live together. And what happens when you make that global impact? What happens? It's unstoppable. And that's where the unstoppable woman came from.
Yeah, I just
love it. It kind of just went, it all flowed together. And it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel scary. It feels exciting. It feels like we're making this difference. You know, like we're going to be going to Mexico in November to go and give some workshops to work with children at an orphanage and share our gifts and talents with these young men and women, and teach them, like, hey, even though you're here right now, this is not your final destination, and you're going to overcome this. This is going to be a part of your journey. And we get to do things like that. We get to be a part of helping others and serving others. And that's what it's all about. That's what life is about, is, you know, don't be selfish. There's no reason for that. You know, don't be in competition, but uplift one another, encourage one another, you know. And I'm not saying, you know, we have to have boundaries, of course, you know, but establish healthy boundaries. You know, don't overcommit yourself. Don't say yes to everything. You can't help everyone, but the ones that you can, then do it. You know, like when you said, when you were doing that beautiful introduction, you said she'd probably give her the shirt off her back or her last dollar. I would, and I have, because I know that person needs it more than I do. And I can go get another dollar. I can go get another shirt. But that person right there at that moment in time, they do need it, and they need it more than I do. Yeah. So it's just, it's kind of a pay it forward. You know, you live that pay it forward life all the time. And the more I've embraced that, the more easier it's been for me to not just focus on illness and all the other stuff. Like, it's kind of in the back of my mind. And some people are like, but how? And I just say, it just is. It's just a choice that I've learned to make. And you know, it's not easy. It's not, you know, my husband, and my kids are constantly, having to remind me, you know, like, hey, but you have this right now, but you have these beautiful kids, you have these grandkids. Like when I have really hard days, my daughter will bring over my grandson or both of them. And, they're just, I mean, how can you not smile at the cuteness of kids, you know, and their innocence and the love, the unconditional love that they give. So I'm excited for what's to come. I believe that we are a movement that is, I'm already seeing it, you know, on a global level, and it makes my heart happy, because if we can change, the suicide rate, if we can change the poverty rate in women, trying to make it, for single mothers. If we can help that grandmother who decides at 65 she wants to go back to college, and we're the ones that gave her that extra push that she needed, that extra, hey, go out there and be that fearless grandma, or glamma. If we can do that, then let's do it. Or if we have this woman who wants to be an entrepreneur but doesn't have a college degree or even a high school degree, but she has a vision, then let's help her fulfill that vision. So if they're able to dip into a pool of these extraordinary women, there's no end to what can be done. And that's what it's about. That's what life is.
Yeah, I love it. I think the answer to your how, when someone asks you how, for me, honestly, it's not about you becoming the unstoppable woman. You are living and breathing and being the unstoppable woman. That's what you're doing with your life. And I think that's amazing. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but I could talk for hours with Hanna, and I'm sure there's a lot we could talk on, but I know for the sake of her time, because I know she's a busy woman, and I definitely would love for you guys to go check out She Rises community. I'll put all of her contact information in the comments afterwards in the video, but definitely if you didn't get a chance, if you see the video in the feed, and I will make sure that you guys see it, watch it, but definitely check out She Rises community. You're going to see a whole bunch of new stuff coming out, links to her books that she's got. This woman is unstoppable. Like I said, she says becoming an unstoppable woman. She's being the unstoppable woman, living and breathing it. And I just love that you're inspiring other women to do just the same. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day today.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Me too. I mean, I learned a lot more about you today than I did before, than I have known. And I feel like I have a little bit more of an understanding of where you are. And I just love the fact that, I believed when I said, I called it and I said, I know that she would be the woman that would give the shirt off of her back and the last dollar in her wallet. And I believe that to be true just because of all the stuff you're doing for women like myself, for other women in our community that are part of my Facebook group, in part of the She Rises community. And all the women all over the world that you are impacting, you're changing lives. And I think that's amazing. So
thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Don't go anywhere yet. I'm going to end the broadcast, but guys, listen, make sure that when you check out the stuff that I'm going to put in the comments below, you do not want to miss out on anything, because there's some amazing stuff coming up. I get to be part of it too, so I'm so excited.
Yes, you do, and we're excited to have you.
All right, guys, have a great rest of your day. Remember to navigate your day with an attitude of gratitude, because with the right attitude, that will put you with a better mindset for when life throws her curveballs or throws up roadblocks in your way. You will at least be in a better headspace to take a look at it and try to manage your way through. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.